Today we're talking about art. That's what we do every day. But we're talking about art and other things that are art, like poetry. Specifically, we're talking about the Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. And so the painting is a road that is probably less taken. That doesn't look like it's not taken. That looks like that road is taken, doesn't it? But anyway, so I'll show you my technique for doing that. And we'll talk a little bit about poetry and about the time it takes to create a painting. If you're in a community or a group or a room full of other people and you can all chime in and say something when you feel like it. Or perhaps you're all listening to a record or a recording of somebody speaking, or maybe even music. It's just that idea of sharing the other ways that people express their art, their artistic selves. One of my favorite ways is the culinary arts. Yes, I do enjoy food, so. Yeah, so let's get together. I got my coffee. That was my food of choice today. And let's show you how I did that painting right now. Well, today we're going to start with no paper because I ran out of paper. I didn't run out of paper. I ran out of greeting cards. That's what I meant to say. And I like painting greeting cards. So yesterday I painted on a 9 by 12 inch sheet of paper. But I got my brushes, I got my dirty water, and it's not too dirty, but it's dirty enough. And I got my 2 Winsor & Newton watercolor trays of paint. The darker ones and the lighter ones. And I did buy some new paper, some new cards. So let's make room for the new guy. And this is probably not so exciting as some of the unpacking videos I've seen. But here it is. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Look at that. It arrived in the mail yesterday. And you can see it's made by Strathmore, and you can see I bought 50 of them. I think my last batch must have been 100 because the box was taller. But I'm going to use my fingernail. This is the big unpacking, the anticlimactic packing of something that's completely seeable, viewable through the clear plastic. But I'm going to pull the plastic off. Now, I'm probably, it's probably not going to be long before I don't know what happened to the label here, but so for this video, I just want to document that's what it looks like. Now, I will tell you that when I ran out of cards, I went online to Amazon and I went to buy more cards, and I found so many choices. So Strathmore is not the only choice, but it is the one I've used. And so there's the packaging that I'll probably end up losing. But it says acid-free for those who are interested in that. It's considered watercolor paper for those of you who are interested in that. By the way, if you have paper that's not watercolor paper, you can make it watercolor paper. I'm going to tell you how to do that. I should show you one day. It's a product called watercolor ground. You can actually make it with gesso and something else. I can't remember the other thing. Anyway, let's start with my first card here. And the brand, and it comes with envelopes, by the way, for those who didn't know. Yeah, it comes with 50 cards and 50 envelopes. And It does not come with the plastic sleeves that I like to put them in. When I give them as gifts, I like to put them in these. I don't know if you can see this. It's a nice plastic sleeve, and the card fits perfectly in there. See? Later on, when it's folded, when it's folded, it'll fit in there. So, all right. Let's begin. Today, a pretty simple one, I think. I don't think I need to sketch this one out. Just a simple landscape, and I just thought about this. I often quote the Robert Frost poem incorrectly. I often say the road less taken or something like that. I know he's got more than one poem, but you know the poem he wrote called The Road Not Taken? I often misquote that. But I want to do a road that's probably less taken, especially with GPS nowadays. So I'm just going to get this area wet back here, and then we'll come back to it. But the road most taken nowadays is the road that GPS recommends you take. Have you noticed this, by the way? So if you drive in someplace and it's like a lot of traffic. You know how you on your GPS you can see like the orange and the red, and it shows you where it's busy and where it's not so busy. Well, if you take the road less taken, travel the road. What's the poem again? It's called The Road Not Taken. Well, in our world, in the modern world, if you take a road that's not taken, it's probably going to be bad for your tires. But if you take the road less taken, the road less traveled, you'll probably be okay. So I want to keep this area right here very, very white. So I'm just probably not even going to put any paint on it. Just trying to get a kind of a mixture of red and yellow, which of course forms brown. Brown. What am I saying? It looks brown right now. It forms orange. That's what I want. I want this orange glow here in the sky. And let the water kind of spread it out a lot. So anyway, if you take, like, for example, I drive a lot on Interstate 75 here in Central Florida. And, it's often just stopped up. Or I-4 down in Orlando, it's often stopped up. Just so much traffic. If you can find a road less traveled, I think you'll enjoy the ride a lot better. All right, there's my little area of white right there. Just to make it a little more colorful, I'm going to put some blue on the edges here, just to bring it out a little bit. Is that working? There. There we go. It's kind of dark like that. The poem by Robert Frost is on the screen in front of me, and it says, the road, I'm sorry, I'll start over again. It says two roads, but this is going to be just one road. It says two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. That's what we're painting today. Then took the other, and just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Oh, I should paint that. Though as for the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. That's pretty profound. It's very profound. Yeah, that's why that's such a famous poem. Because, we all want to believe that. We all want to believe that. You know the song, My Way? Paul Anka wrote that song. Frank Sinatra made it famous. Elvis made it famous. A couple people put their touch to it. That's what that's about. That song, My Way, it's about doing it your way. I think, when I think of biographies, I've read a bunch of biographies, I guess, and watched biographical movies, etc. I think there are two types. There's more than two types, but there's two categories I noticed. There are those autobiographies in which the person who is writing the book, or the person who the book is written about, gives credit to themselves for everything that they've done in their lives. And then there's those that give credit to God for everything that has happened in their lives. Or at least considers that God was there for them. I think those are the two differences that I've noticed in the biographies. The people who believe that they did it all by themselves. I also think that God is part of our lives. God has saved us from a lot of things we almost made happen to ourselves that wouldn't have been good. And a lot of times God lets things happen to us that are not that good, whether we cause them or not. And it's very hard to explain. Nor do I believe that I know. I don't know. I am not a wise soothsayer, or whatever you call him. I'm not that person. But I do think that we are interdependent. We depend on each other. And we're there for each other. Who else are we here for other than each other? It's hard to get through life without needing a little help from somebody. Gosh, the first day you're born, you can't do anything. You're completely at the mercy of the people around you, your mother. And let's hope that you have a father in the picture. I've heard so many sad stories. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have two good parents. But everybody's not as lucky as I was. I hope you are. And if you're not, I hope you're in a good place now, where things are okay for you. Trying to decide how much white I want to leave in this picture here. You can see the landscape already happening here. So when I have if you use the traveling thing as a metaphor, we all can relate to that, right? You chose to get married or to not get married. You chose to live in one place instead of another, or it's just different choices we make that have nothing to do with actual traveling, but rather going through life. We all make choices. And we live with them. I think that's what the poem is saying. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Because he's saying, I can do the other road later. But right now, I'm going to do this one with the intent of coming back, but there's a likelihood I'll never come back. When I was 22, I lived in California. And I came back to Florida, and I never really went back. I did go back to visit, but I never went back to live there. It was not a mistake. It was not a mistake. It was good. Florida has been good to me. So, all right, little by little, try to make this happen in this picture here. Don't worry, we're going to go up there soon. Going to get into that wet spot. You got to wait for it to get a little bit drier. I'll take some of these colors and bring them up there. The other part of the poem says, the last verse, I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Yeah, right. You wonder, you sigh, you say, well, gosh, what would have happened if? What would have happened if I did this? What would have happened to me if I had chosen this road? Where would I be now if I had chosen that road? Isn't that pretty profound? I think that's one of the things we can do as artists. If you're an artist, you might also be a writer. I think a lot of artists write. I think a lot of artists write poetry too. So I think that's a cool way to, when I was younger and I was in art class, I never went to art school, but I went to art class in high school. And the teacher would sometimes play records. And when I was a kid, I don't know if it's true today, and I'm not picking on today's music. I can't comment on it because I really only listen to a little of it. I'm not completely disappointed with today's music, by the way. And it has nothing to do with style. Well, some of it does. But a lot of it has to do with the words, too. If you remember if you're old enough, Paul Simon would write these amazing songs that were like poetry. They were poetry. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. I am a rock, I am an island. Remember those songs? Or songs by Melanie. Do you remember Melanie Safka? I used to love Melanie. She was really outstanding. And then later on in life, she had I don't know if it was a Facebook. I think it was Facebook. page. And I would read her stuff and listen to her new stuff. And she was still doing it. She passed away not too long ago, really. She was very inspirational too. And then people like Leonard Cohen. But I think what I'm getting at here is the idea of mixing art with poetry in some way, whether we're reading it, or sharing it through a record or a recording. That would be kind of a cool thing, wouldn't it? To have an art class. That's a really cool idea. To have an art class where everybody's kind of doing like what you and I do. We just sit around and we chat. And then one person says, you know, I got this book. And I found this poem. You don't want to read like one after another. You don't want to be sickening, but but you know, you just talk about it. Maybe just one poem like we're doing right now. Just talk about it. Just digest one work. Maybe even somebody in the group has written a poem. Or maybe it's a Bible verse. Some of the Bible verses are very poetry-like. Don't ask me to give you an example, because I don't really know. I believe in God, but I'm not a biblical scholar like that. So yeah, that would be kind of cool to just kind of have a group like that where everybody kind of gets together and shares something they discovered, or something maybe even rediscovered. Like in this case, I'm sure you all knew the poem by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. I'm guessing most of you know it. All right, now that paper's dry up there, so we can start adding more dark colors. Anyway, so maybe I'll make that a thing on this channel. What do you think? Give me a thumbs up or whatever you do. Let me know. I'm adding some blue here just to give it a little color. I did an illustration yesterday for the pastor at the church. He wanted he's doing a piece about Joseph, not the Joseph who's the father of Jesus, but the one from the New Testament, the one with the coat of many colors. Remember Donny Osmond? The coat of many colors. The Technicolor dream coat. That's what it was, right? Was that who wrote that? I mean, besides the Bible, was that a Andrew Lloyd Webber piece? Let me ask Siri. Hey Siri. Who wrote Joseph in the Coat of Technicolor Dreamcoat?
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat is a sing-through musical with lyrics by Tim Rice and music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, based on the character of Joseph from the Bible's Book of Genesis. This was the first Lloyd Webber and Rice musical to be performed publicly. Their first collaboration, The Likes of Us, written in 1965, was not performed until 2005. This answer is from Wikipedia.
Okay, that's good. Wow, took a long time. So, anyway, thank you, Siri. Appreciate that. I'm just trying to keep this very dappled here. And green. I want to make sure it's green, even though the poem says yellow woods. All right, now we've got a lot of building up here to do. The trees, because we want that road going into the woods. So first, let's put some distant trees in there. Very distant, very very faded. And we'll let that dry. And then we'll paint over that. It's kind of dreamy, isn't it, this one? Yeah, that's kind of dry like that. That'll be our very, very background trees. The trees that are reaching up to the sunlight. So yeah, Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm going to have to watch that again. Yeah, I don't really know that one that well. But anyway, so I was telling you that the pastor of the church wanted me to come up with an illustration of Joseph. And he did a rough pencil sketch of what he had in mind. I'll show you. I gotta remember to put a B-roll on here when I'm done editing. So I'll show you the best I can. Okay. I want this to come down here. I want this to be dark. I want it to go way up here. I want this to be very rich here. Just lots of trees here. They can go off the card onto the back of the card. I'm going to make it a little bit of a mixture of the dark. Let me use this over here. That's a little too dark. Let me use some of it over here. Let me spread it around a little bit. It's still wet over this. I can't do too much. I can bring it up over here. Yeah, so I'll try to put the Technicolor Dream Coat. Oh no, that's the Andrew Lloyd Webber one. No, I mean the actual, the one from the Bible, the coat of many colors. It's actually, I looked it up and it says the robe. So a colorful robe. So I made it into a robe. I'll show you. Maybe I'm showing it to you right now. I don't even know where I'm going to do it on here. Some very light water. Let's get the water to lighten it down a little bit. Get this yellow back to yellow again. This red. So right now it looks brown. I'm going to make it very there's this little bit here. Trees over here that are Yeah, so they kind of fade into the background a little bit. In the comments, I would like to hear what you think about the idea of the poetry mixed with art. Something to do while you're doing art, not necessarily like the old beatnik thing, you know, where people would click their fingers when somebody would read a poem. That's okay too. But wouldn't it be fun if you're actually working on a piece of art in a room, let's say, with other people are gathered and everybody's maybe got one, but you don't just read it and then be done with it. You kind of go back to it and keep analyzing or keep digesting it, keep thinking about it, keep thinking about those few words. Poems are short. Well, not always. Not always. I think I'm going to do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll do that here on this channel. This is a channel I like. I think I mentioned it yesterday. It's called Trout and Coffee. I think the guy's name is Trout. But it's just a cool thing. It's almost like you're having a cup of coffee while you're sitting on the edge of a dock and you're fishing. I'm not really sure. That's the visual I get when I think about the title of his channel. Okay, I'm trying to get some of these like these colors up here. I don't need to mix them again. Get some of these trees back here that are faded in the distance. Let them dry before I do much else with them. And I'll put some darker ones. We want to keep that dappled light going here. Poetry and art. Poetry is an art form. And art, I guess, can be poetic in a way. I think the use of the word artist as a way to describe recording musical people, singers. I think all singers who record music are not necessarily artists. And that's not a bad thing. I am not picking on anybody. You don't have to be an artist. You know, this world is made of a lot of different people. But I think the word artist is a word that's used incorrectly sometimes. Even with graphic art, I think sometimes a person, myself included, is not an artist as much as an illustrator. And maybe that's true for me. Maybe I'm more of an illustrator than an artist. So then who would an artist be? Why is Van Gogh an artist and not an illustrator? Well, you know, he came up with stuff that was unique, that was not in existence. Like my painting, this one, for example. I mean, this has been done. Little curves, roads in the woods. I just like doing them. So that's part of it too. The dirty water is getting so dirty that it's not bringing up any colors. I have to, you know what? I probably just use a clean brush. I'm using the same brush over and over again. I guess you noticed that, right? But it's kind of coming out cool. I like the way it's looking. Trying to get some of these darker areas here to give the contrast. And also to make the dappled light look more dappled. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. I guess some of this is yellow. So like an artist in music, if you say a recording artist, as opposed to just a singer, and there's nothing wrong with being just a singer, there's nothing wrong with that. But an artist would be somebody like Prince. Prince was an artist. He was very innovative and came up with new things, and used old things too, you know, same as we do with paint. Come up with new ideas and mix them with old ideas. I kind of like the way that looks right there. That's awesome. I like the way that looks. Sometimes in the local art stores, I've seen art classes, and on the easels are classic pieces that people are reproducing, repainting. And I guess that's a good way to learn how to do it. But I don't think you should stay there. You shouldn't allow yourself to be a student forever. Somebody told me that when they went to art school, they never were told they were artists. They were always told they were art students. And it made a difference for them. Not necessarily a good one, because they wanted to think of themselves as artists. And I guess you can't think of yourself as a doctor until you have graduated, but I don't see why an artist, an art student, can't be an artist in the learning process and at the learning stage. It doesn't make any sense to me. Some of the greatest artists, you can't use age. You can't use age as a way to justify that, because some of the greatest artists, the greatest composers, were teenagers, right? Some of them were very young. I'm purposely keeping this very light here because I'm not sure what to do with it. I think what I'll do is I'll get some light yellow ochre. Boy, the back of the card is a mess. Just some of that light stuff and put that in there. Just try to keep this a little bit just a little bit of color I'm adding that orange to create the effect of we're seeing some soil there coming through. Let's see if I can get a tall tree here. I met a guy yesterday who, him and his wife, they've been so many places in the world. They've traveled so far. It's something I guess I would like to do, is to travel more. And to take the road. Not take it. Yeah. You know, one thing I remember from, I was conjuring up an old memory before of the art class I took in high school. I remember the art teacher had a fondness for fire sign theater. And that was like a spoken language recording group. They didn't sing, but they spoke. I guess you would consider it comedy. And the spoken word in recordings was something I had a hard time getting my head around, because it's like once you hear it, do you want to hear it again? And obviously the answer is sometimes. Not always, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you want to hear it again. Kind of like watching a movie. Do you want to see it again? Some movies, the answer is yes. I want to bring some shadows across the way here. I'm trying to think how to do that, because the sun is right there, so. Let's just continue with the dark area over here. Just keep adding a little bit of darkness here and there to accentuate all the not so dark areas. Too, there's this remembering to put the darkest stuff, so you don't forget to do that, because the contrast is what makes the composition. So there's a tree right there that pulls up out of the ground, and very in the foreground, like this tree is like right here. purple to that. Let me get a clean brush. I need a clean brush here. Get a little bit of purple on that brush. I'm going to make a couple of areas in this road shaded. And other areas lit. That's a little too dark right there. Yeah, we don't want that. That's a mistake. Gotta get it up right away. I want it a little darker, not that much darker. Yeah, I guess that works. We started to have that look of the shadows from the trees making their way across that roadway. That's what we want. We want that light coming through. And over here too, we want to make sure. This is why I'm so kind of wishy-washy about what to do over here. I want to make sure I have lots of spaces here for contrast. There's that bird outside right now. Sounds like he's calling a dog. Hear him? Hear that bird? I wonder if any dog hears that and says, "I'm coming. It must be dinner time. I'm coming." Here's these little hints of trees against the edge of the road. Okay, now let's figure out how to do this over here. I'm pretty happy with the picture overall, but I think this one corner over here needs to have that dappled light look. Maybe if I accentuate the green a lot, give it a little more green. And then what I'll probably do is that little illustration technique. I think that would help. That little technique of putting little wisps, so you get the feeling that there's grass over here. there, just little hairs. I wonder if you ask GPS to give you directions to a place and you say, take me down the road less traveled. I would say less traveled. Now in the poem, it says, let's see, where is it? I took the one less traveled by, even though the title of the poem is The Road Not Taken. So you don't want one that's not taken, I guess. Well, unless you're really daring. Unless you have a really good car that can handle anything. Probably a Jeep or something. But if you take the one less traveled, and to all kidding aside, if you were to go into the woods, taking a walk, not a vehicle. Robin and I have done this. We went down a road, a path that was really not a path, so it was literally a road not taken. And we were lost. We absolutely were lost. It was at Watercolor Springs here, not too far from here. But we got lost. And then, by the grace of God, we found our way back. We were so exhausted by the time that was done. And that was when we were much younger. We still laugh about that day. Oh, that's the other part of it too. Sometimes you end up with a great memory. I think that looks like the light is coming in, doesn't it? And coming across. So I think we're done. I think we've accomplished the goal. Of doing a painting of the road less traveled. Maybe not the road not taken, but the road less traveled. And I think I got the dappled light look a little bit in there. And I think there's enough trees. And I think the foreground trees are dark enough. I say that, but yeah, I'm still adding. You see, I'm contradicting myself as I talk. There, I think that's it. Okay, I gotta wash these brushes. I got 2 of them. I only used 2 today. Oh, you know what I gotta do? I gotta move around this paint over here. Oh, this is gonna be a job. I gotta just get the back part of the card to look less messy. The road less messy. And then I let it dry and fold it up. And it's the first card from the new cards from Strathmore. Yeah, I found some cards online that had rounded corners. And I decided to get these because I had already had these. So I kind of like this card. I kind of like this video today too. I kind of enjoyed talking about the poetry and everything. Okay, let's try and spread this up. Don't ask me what's going on the back of the card because it doesn't matter. It's an abstract work of happenstance, happen chance, whatever the word is. Come on. Work with this. Come on. Now it looks like it works into the back of the card. All right. Thank you, Robert Frost, for that poem. All right. I think we're done. So we'll see you later. Bye.